Hey there. You hear the word sustainability thrown around all the time, right? But today, we're going to peel back the layers and look at it for what it really is, a story. A story with a clear beginning, a really dangerous problem, and a solution that, believe it or not, we're all a part of. So let's dive in.
And honestly, this quote, it really hits the nail on the head. Let's just forget the textbooks and the jargon for a sec. Because if you really want to get what sustainability is all about, you have to understand the massive problem it was created to solve. All right, so first up, a problem, not a theory. We're going to rewind the clock, way back, to a time before sustainability was even a word, to an era where the balance between people and nature wasn't really a choice. It was just how you survived. I mean, just picture it, right? Old school farms, small fishing villages. These communities weren't thinking about sustainability in some abstract way. They just lived it. It was simple math, really. You take too many fish from the sea today, you're going to go hungry tomorrow. Or worse, your kids will. It was an unspoken rule, just woven into the fabric of everyday life. Okay, so our next chapter, growth without limits. But then everything changed. And I mean everything. The Industrial Revolution kind of lit the fuse, but it was really the massive boom after World War II that sent us down a totally new path, a path of what seemed like endless growth.
And you know what? For a good while, it looked like we'd hit the jackpot. You had factories popping up everywhere, cities exploding in size, and suddenly things like mass tourism and travel were possible. The world felt smaller, full of endless possibilities. This was progress on a scale no one had ever seen.
The momentum was just incredible, but it was also totally blind. Yeah, the world was growing, but we weren't growing smart. And just under the surface of all that shiny progress, things were starting to go wrong. And look, these weren't just a few random problems here and there. They were all symptoms of the exact same disease, this idea of growth at any cost. The very things we thought were making us successful, our factories, our power plants, the way we just bought and threw stuff away, they were choking our rivers, wiping out forests, and creating these insane mountains of trash.
So let's get to Section 3, a global wake-up call. Something had to give, right? I mean, this path was just not sustainable. And by the 1970s, the problems were so big, you just couldn't ignore them anymore. It was like a global alarm bell started ringing.
And you can really see that turning point laid out right here on this timeline. After all those decades of just go, the 70s was when the world finally hit the brakes and said, whoa, hold on a minute. It all came to a head at that huge 1972 conference, where for the first time ever you had world leaders in one room admitting something huge, that trying to grow an economy while destroying the planet, well, that's just a recipe for disaster.
And this was the big, scary question that everyone was suddenly forced to ask. It sounds simple, but the possible answers, they were terrifying. And it kicked off this massive global conversation that we're still having today.
Okay, Section 4, defining our common future. So at this point, the world knew it was in trouble. But here's the thing about a problem. If you can't name it, if you can't define it, it's almost impossible to solve. That all changed in the late 80s.
This right here, this report called Our Common Future, also known as the Brundtland Report, this was a total game changer. It basically took all this worry about pollution and running out of resources and social inequality, and it pulled it all together into one single powerful idea.
And this is the beautiful, simple definition that came out of it. See, it's not about slamming the brakes on progress, not at all. It's about being smart. It's about making sure that the things we do today don't completely wreck the future for our kids and grandkids. And boom, that was the moment modern sustainability was truly born.
But they didn't stop there. The report broke it down even further into these 3 core pillars. And this is so important. All of a sudden, sustainability wasn't just about saving the trees or the polar bears. It was this whole package deal. You have the planet, you have people, and you have profit. The big idea? You can't have a healthy economy or a fair society on a dead planet. They're all connected. You need all 3 to make it work.
All right, Section 5, sustainability and practice. Okay, so that's the big idea, the theory. But what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, let's zoom in on a perfect example, the hospitality industry.
So why hospitality? Why hotels and restaurants? Well, think about it. By their very nature, they are huge consumers. They use a ton of energy, a ton of water, they create a lot of waste, and more than anything, their whole business depends on the local community and the beauty of the place they're in.
So does it work in practice?
On one hand, yeah, the benefits are clear. You can save a lot of money in the long run. You're protecting the very resources your business needs to survive, and hey, it builds a great reputation with your guests. But let's be real, the challenges are huge too. It can cost a lot of money to get started, and then you have the whole problem of greenwashing. You know, when a company talks a big game about being green but doesn't actually do the work. So yeah, it's not a perfect system, but it's a necessary evolution.
And that brings us to our final section, why it still matters. So after this whole journey, from those small villages to our globalized world, what's the one thing you should really take away from all this?
It's this, right here. Sustainability is not a trend. It's not some cool buzzword or marketing tactic. It is a direct response to the massive mistakes we've made in the past. It's a game plan, a smarter way forward that's designed specifically so we don't repeat those same screw-ups.
So in the end, it all comes down to this simple but powerful idea. It's about learning from our history, being responsible for what we do right now, and protecting what's to come. The story of sustainability, well, it's really our story. It's the story of all of us. The only real question is, what's the next chapter going to look like?